We all heard the phrase that sex sells, and they call prostitution the oldest profession. So when it comes to our fandom, why would that be any different? Today we're going to talk about fan service, lewdness, and how it changed our fandom and also affected our fandom. To start, we have to know what fan service is. The meaning of the word has evolved over the years. It's like the word anime. Originally it was just the Japanese word for cartoon. Shortened from the word animation, over the years it was adopted to just mean Japanese animated content. So you may not want to call anime cartoons in this day and age, because the hardcore fans may just get mad at you. Funny enough, Miyazaki said his work is not anime, and anime was a mistake. But let's save that topic for another day and get back to our own topic. So fan service originally meant adding anything to the work that would appeal directly to the fan base. That's a very general description. Basically, it can be Easter eggs, nostalgia, overhyped action sequences, cameos, just about anything that can get the fans riled up. Over the years, the word evolved, and now it mostly refers to things of a sexual or risque nature. In many people's opinion, modern-day fan service stemmed from a French movie called Menina, the Girl Without Sails, that came out in 1952. When it came out in America in 1958, they put Brigitte Bardot on the cover of all the promotional material in a bikini that would have been considered very revealing for its time, renaming it The Girl in the Bikini. These promotions made the movie super popular and a success in America. Surprisingly enough, Bardot wasn't in the movie until the 40-minute mark of a 78-minute movie, and she was in it for very little. Star Trek has innovated the world, not just in our fandom, but in technology as well. Many of our modern-day devices were made to look like or even inspired by things that we've seen on Star Trek. Cell phones, tablets, video calls, and Bluetooth, just to name a few. Each show and series being groundbreaking and intuitive of a utopian future. But it was also known for its fan service. Captain Kirk. He sure did get around. The most groundbreaking fan service it had was its interracial kiss on November 22, 1986 between O'Hara and Captain Kirk. It might not have been the first interracial kiss on film, but it was definitely the first kiss on American TV. It impacted fandom and the world alike for years to come. Plus, it wasn't just some woman of the week, it was two permanent and integral characters to the plot. To this day, it's a proud moment in Shatner's career, and he still talks about it when he gets a chance. Like many things, this version of fan service became very popular in Japan and then spread across the world. It started with two different mangas, and then spread like wildfire: Cutie Honey and Sailor Moon. They both eventually got multiple animes. The fan-servicey transformations and nudity in the anime and mangas were inspirations for many things to come afterwards. After that, many mangas, animes, and other fandom added transformation and nudity to their work. To think, we might not have transformations in Super Sentai or Power Rangers if it wasn't for fan service. Much of the fan service and nudity we see in our shows today could be traced back to the trends of back then. Going back and remembering some of my first experiences with fan service, I have to remember the shower scene in Street Fighter the movie, or watching one of my favorite animes, Ranma 1/2. To think, these shows were made for kids in Japan. The first true fan-servicey anime to be released in America was released by a company called ADV, and they released Devil Hunter Yoko. Don't watch this show with your parents in the room. It was their first release, and it did well enough so they could buy and license other animes. If we're going to talk about Street Fighter, then we have to talk about video games. Have you ever played a video game, selected a female character, or had a female protagonist, and noticed when she's standing still and standing in place, her boobs are jiggling? It's called jiggle physics. Have you ever wondered where it came from? It started in 1992. The fighting game Fatal Fury 2. The character, Mai Shiranui. Once introduced, it became widely popular, even leading to the creation of games where you can control the amount of jiggle physics in your game. Many games and trends have come out of Japan. One popular type of game is the visual novel. One such game was released in 1999. It was called Canon. Not confident in the game's selling potential, the publisher Key decided to make an Aero game and add a lot of fan service and nudity to the game. The game ranked second overall in Japan and made a lot of money. After it established itself, it released a non-Aero version. Not to be mixed with censorship, which it wasn't. What they did was took out all the graphic parts and left in the fan service. Canon's success would launch a trend of Aero games, where they'd launch different games that they weren't confident in as Aero versions, and then later on convert them to normal versions, and even some of them would get animes, but they would leave in the fan service. Here are some games to animes that you might not have known had started off with an Aero game. Faith Stay Night, Green Green, School Days, Clannad, Variable Geo, and many more. I own and watched the Variable Geo VHS, and I've played the Super Nintendo game, so I was really surprised when I downloaded the computer game with Chibi Fighters and found out that it was an Aero game. Another show I was a fan of back in the day is a show called Gunbuster. It was made by a company called Gainax, and because of a certain type of animation style that they had, there was a term coined by the fanbase called Gainaxing. This was a kind of fan service that they would use in their animation style, where a girl would be running with no bra on and her breasts would be bouncing individually independent of each other in opposite directions, and that is the term Gainaxing. Now you know, and you will never unknow. It's not just Japan that uses fan service to attract viewers. America has been doing it for years. We can go as far back as the 1930s with the first appearance of Betty Boop. Looney Tunes, Warner Brothers, and a lot of cartoons like it have treaded a fine line in between what is acceptable fan service and what can be shown to kids.
Hello, nurse.
All these things come together and eventually evolve to things like Roger Rabbit's Jessica Rabbit and Cool World's Hollywood. We also have magazines like the Heavy Metal magazine, which was geared towards an adult audience, which was inspired and went farther than the National Lampoon's magazine. Heavy Metal started in 1977. It had a lot of fan service and other adult-targeted content in it. This paved the way for other magazines and comics to put fan service in their content. An edgier comic book company came out in 1992 by the name of Image Comics, which had a lot of fan service, a lot more violence and gore, and it paved the path for other comic book companies like DC, Marvels, and others to get on the fan service bandwagon. Let's head back to the big screen with our next subject, Star Wars. Whether you're a fan or not, whether you're a geek or not, whether you've seen it or not, everybody in the world is familiar with Leia's golden bikini. Leia was headstrong, smart, and a good leader. That type of character wasn't really seen that much around that time, and Lucas was afraid that she wasn't coming off feminine enough. So how did he decide to deal with this? He put in that scene. He put her in a metal bikini and put a chain around her neck, hoping that it would appeal to the male audience. And it sure did work. That bit of fan service is still alive until today. So many people cosplay it, so many shows parodied it. I don't think this one bit of fan service will ever die out. Fan service isn't just for the guys. There's fan service for the girls and fan service for the LGBTQ community as well. Though I'm not as knowledgeable on this subject, so I won't be able to give you that many facts on it, I'm going to show you a couple of references just so you know what I'm talking about. The amount of times that Archie goes shirtless in Riverdale. If you're an anime fan, The author of the manga and the anime made Naruto and Sasuke accidentally kiss. And then you have that wedding kiss at the end of Voltron, Legendary Defenders. Fanservice is used to sell and boost ratings. Often animators, mangakas, and editors add in fanservice just to boost sales. Mangaka Nabaka Suzuki, who created Seven Deadly Sins, went on record saying he didn't want to make his main character Meliodas so perverted and cause so many fanservice scenes, but his editor insisted and wouldn't let him keep it out of it. When his manga became more popular and he gained more notoriety, he was able to edit that stuff out and not add it anymore. So if you notice, there was more fanservice at the beginning of the series and almost none by the end of the series. The last thing I'm going to talk about is a show that came out recently and is full of fanservice. Gushing Over Magical Girls. This show revolves around its fanservice and is kind of like a meta commentary about fans and their relationship to fanservice. I feel like the show represents fandom. The main character loves magical girls, but maybe a little bit too much. She's turned into the villain for magical girls, and she's horrified at first, but then she starts to embrace her inner sadist. She slowly starts to show her true self. I think the show is trying to speak to the fan base directly. If you like fan service, enjoy it. Don't worry what anybody else thinks. At least that's what I think the show is trying to get across. That is definitely the journey the main character is taking. To end this segment, I remember a show I used to watch called The Man Show. At the end of their show, they would have girls jumping on trampolines. So to end my show, I'm going to have a montage of jiggle physics. Enjoy, lock your doors, AC out.